You're listening to the PuckUps Podcast. It's time to hit the ice with Brian DeFelice.
Welcome into episode 5 of the PuckUps Podcast. I am Brian DeFelice, and thank you all very much for joining me. The good times keep on rolling for the Boston Bruins. They are now 10-1 in the month of January, including their 2 most recent wins over the Montreal Canadiens and the Nashville Predators. Those, of course, were sandwiched around an overtime loss against the New York Rangers. So we'll touch on all 3 of those games, as well as the road ahead. Now, there's 3 games remaining before the Olympic break, and the Bruins have an opportunity to do something that they have yet to do at any point this season. Now, what exactly is that? You'll have to stay tuned to find out. Before we go any further, just a friendly reminder to please subscribe to the PuckUps on YouTube, Apple Podcast, Spotify, or anywhere else that you get your podcast. This is indeed a new show, so any support is greatly appreciated. As far as getting in touch with me or how to be a part of the show, you can email me info@thepuckups.com. You can tweet at me on X at @BrianDeFelice_. You can tweet at the show at the PuckUps, or you can even call and leave a voicemail to be aired right here on this show by calling 617-539-6958. Again, that's 617-539-6958. And before getting into the Bruins and the Canadiens game, let's just reset the table and catch ourselves up to speed on where the Bruins currently lie in the Eastern Conference standings. So right now, Boston has a record of 31-20-3. That's good for 65 points and a points percentage of .602. Now, right now, that has them 5th place in the Atlantic Division in both points and points percentage. It also has them in the second wildcard spot in both points and points percentage. But what's interesting is that while they are 5th in the Atlantic Division in points, they have the same amount of points as none other than the Montreal Canadiens, who are 4th, and the Buffalo Sabres, who are 3rd. So while, yes, Boston is 5th in points and points percentage, it's because of the tiebreaker, which is points percentage and regulation wins and whatnot. But Boston has the same amount of points as Montreal and Buffalo right now. So things are very, very tight, not only in the Atlantic Division, but still the Eastern Conference playoff race as a whole. And there's all sorts of unsettled business, and the amount of different playoff matchups that there could be are endless right now. So with that said, let's jump into the Bruins and the Montreal game, because as I said, the Bruins did get a win over the Canadiens. It was 4-3. It was Boston's first third period come from behind win of the season, which is very admirable. But it wasn't the greatest start to the game for the Bruins. Unlike their game against Vegas, where Boston came out with their hair on fire, against Montreal, it was quite the opposite. In fact, I would say the Bruins were very sluggish. They were skating in quicksand a lot, and their decision-making was slow, and their execution was poor. It seemed to me, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but it seemed to me that Montreal's speed was presenting problems for Boston. They were closing time and space and making the Bruins make choices before they were willing to, ultimately is what it comes down to. Now, the Canadiens did get off to a 1-0 lead on a beautiful play. I have to give it to them. Mike Matheson took the ice in the neutral zone and feathered a beautiful pass right between Charlie McAvoy and Jonathan Aspero, who were split by Cole Caulfield. And you'll hear that name a few more times as this episode goes along. Cole Caulfield. He's an Olympian, right? No? He's not on Team USA? No? Oh, okay. Jason Robertson? No? They're the 2 most, the 2 leading American goal scorers in the NHL, right? They're not Olympians? No? Okay. Hopefully that doesn't come back to haunt the U.S. in the Olympics in a few weeks. But in any event, Cole Caulfield gets his first goal of the game, his 27th of the year, gives Montreal a 1-0 lead. Now, as I said, the Bruins weren't great in the first period, and it kind of showed. Montreal was the quicker team. They were the better team. So off to the second period we go. Victor Arvidsson ties the game for Boston on the power play. It was a pretty good power play for Boston. The first unit had a lot of good looks. They didn't capitalize, at least on that chance. But what it did do was create positive momentum for the second unit. And the second unit went out there and won a face-off clean. And I believe it was Hampus Lindholm who gave it to Fraser Minton. And then Minton found Arvidsson backdoor, tie game 1-1. So, it's always admirable to see a second unit go out there and score a goal because they don't have the luxury of time, right? You go out there as a second unit with 45 seconds left or 50 seconds left or 35, whatever it ends up being. You got to make things happen quick. And I think sometimes that could be detrimental because, you only have so much time. Other times it creates desperation. Power plays could be too cute sometimes. And the more effective ones are the ones that you get shots off early, you get the penalty killers moving, you create loose pucks, you create battles for loose pucks where you're outnumbering your opposition. When you're sitting passing around the puck on your own power play and you're not getting enough shots off, I think you're making it too easy on the penalty killers. Their job is too easy. They get to stay in their box and you kill your own power play. So I liked that second unit just got pucks to the net early and we're able to tie that game. So Arvidsson gets his 12th of the year, ties the game 1-1 for Boston. And then Cole Caulfield again in the power play gives Montreal a 2-1 lead. Morgan Geekie ties the game 2-2 on a fantastic play by David Pastrnak. He's coming down the left wing boards as a right-handed shot, cuts to the middle, flips the puck up into the air to avoid any sort of poke check or anything. The cahoons it takes to pull that off at the highest level is insane. I mean, it's one thing to do that in a men's league game or, whatever, but to do that at the NHL level, it's just crazy. So if that puck had landed flat for Pastrnak, I feel like his first thought was to shoot it and catch the goalie moving, but it was rolling on him. And I think at the same time, he, out of his peripherals, saw Geekie backdoor and found Morgan, and he ties the game, gets a second goal at the time in as many games, and more to talk about Geekie later as far as goal scoring goes. So Geekie ties the game on his 27th of the year on a power play for the Bruins, their second power play goal of the game. And then shortly thereafter, Cole Caulfield again, just an unbelievable shot on this goal by him. And, I was texting my brother who was actually at the game, and he played goalie when he was younger. And I said, hey, was Swayman down too early on that goal by Caulfield? And his response was, yeah, maybe slightly, but he was more so upset about McAvoy not challenging Caulfield. But here's the thing. Montreal's power play has so much speed and skill. They zip it around Demidov, Hudson, Suzuki, Caulfield, Slavkovsky. Like, they are so talented. I don't think there's a power play in the NHL that goes from the half wall to the goal line to the bumper for the one-timer as quickly and as efficiently as Montreal's power play does. They are insane. And I think that's what McAvoy was trying to defend there. He was trying to take away the bumper pass, the slot pass by Montreal that they do so well. I mean, seriously, if you don't watch their power play outside of their games against Boston, which that's all you really need to see because they were filthy, but watch them against other teams. Watch how quickly they move the puck. It'll go Hudson to Suzuki to Caulfield to it's insane. It's bonkers how fast they move it. So I think McAvoy was trying to defend that play. In doing so, he left Caulfield wide open. Now, if you're the Bruins, I do think you look at that play and you say, listen, we're down 5-on-4. So as the team on a penalty kill, you're going to give up a look. Someone's going to be open. It's a matter of what's the lesser of two evils. Would we rather take the chance of Caulfield scoring under the crossbar from a bad angle? Or would we rather give them Suzuki or Slavkovsky in the slot, like open? And I think the Bruins are sitting there saying, if we're going to give up a goal, it better be a perfect shot on a perfect play. Unfortunately for them, Cole Caulfield is very, very capable of making that shot. And as you saw, he has an unbelievable release and a very precise shot. So I made the comment earlier, like he's an Olympian, right? He should be on Team USA. I know he's not the perfect two-way player. I know he's not the biggest guy, but when you're one of 5 guys in the NHL actively with 30 goals this year, and you can be that much of a weapon on the power play, man, between him and Jason Robertson, I just have a hard time stomaching them taking both of Vinny Trocheck and JT Miller, neither of whom are having great years for the Rangers. Nobody on the Rangers is having a great year in the Rangers. Having those 2 guys, if you want to have one of Miller or Trocheck, I get it. Like it's not an all-star team. It's supposed to be the right. We're not looking for the best players, Craig. We're looking for the right ones, right? That's what Herb Brooks said in Miracle. But I don't know, to leave off 60 goals this year is quite the choice. But anyway, Caulfield gives Montreal a 3-2 lead heading into the third period. This is where Fraser Minten puts his stamp on the game. Again, Fraser Minten, I've talked about him a lot. I'm going to continue talking about him. He just impresses me for his age. He is so mature, so reliable, but his offensive game has really started to pick up as of late. Following Boston's most recent game against Nashville, Minten has 13 points in his last 14. That's some serious production for a 21-year-old who is supposed to be more defensive minded, right? So jumping back to the Montreal game, it's 2-2. I'm sorry, it's 3-2 Montreal. And there's just over 6 minutes to go in regulation. Hampus Lindholm makes a nice outlet pass from his own zone, finds Fraser Minten, who crosses Montreal's blue line, and he looks like he was trying to feather a pass through, and it hit a defender's skate. I forget who it may have been Matheson, I forget. And the puck stays with Minten, and he cuts to the middle on the backhand and just, gets a shot on net and beats Montembeault. And now it's 3-3. Now the crowd's feeling good. And lo and behold, Boston goes back to the power play. So Morgan Geekie, seconds into Boston's power play, wires home a one-timer that I don't think a single person in the arena, outside of maybe Montembeault, knew went in. And if Montembeault knew it went in, that doesn't mean he saw it go in because it went past him, but I think he knew it was in. The goal judge didn't know it was in. The refs didn't know it was in. None of the skaters knew it was in. None of the fans knew it was in, and certainly nobody watching at home knew it was in. I have never seen anything like that before, where somebody scores a goal like that from that distance. Sometimes players score in tight and it barely crosses the line, and it's like, oh, is that in? Is that in? A one-timer from the top of the left circle on the power play and nobody sees it go in? Absolutely insane. It was like Fulton Reed and the Mighty Ducks just burning a hole through the net. So anyway, Geekie does score there, and it gives Boston the 4-3 lead. The only bad part about that goal was because nobody saw it go in, it kind of robbed everybody from this huge ovation and home crowd pop to go up 4-3 in the third on Montreal. But hey, it's okay. We'll take the points. We don't need the style on that one. So Geekie gives Boston a 4-3 lead, and they don't look back. And I want to go back to that Minten goal because David Pastrnak was asked after the game, because Boston's power play had been doing so well in general. I mean, they're fourth in the NHL in power play percentage right now, but in that game specifically, they were 3 for 4, 75%. And he was asked about how confident they were hopping over the boards for that power play if they knew they were going to score. And he talked about the Minten goal. He was like, well, I mean, yeah, we're playing confident, but the fact that we got to go out there in a tie game versus being down a goal makes a world of difference psychologically. Because when you hop over the boards and you're on a power play where you need to score to tie the game, to stay in the game, you have to score to stay in the game. There's a lot more pressure on that than we need to score here to put us up, right? Like if you don't score in that power play, it's not the end of the world. It's still 3-3, right? If Minten doesn't score and you're down 3-2 and you go out on the power play and you don't score and you're still down 3-2, you see what I mean? So Pastrnak gave Minton's goal that credit, and I couldn't agree with him more. It was a huge goal by Minton. He's got some clutch gene in him. He really does. I mean, he's got 2 overtime goals this year, and the kid just has a knack for the moment, and that's something that you can't really teach. And the fact that Boston got him and a 2026 first round pick for Brandon Carlo, a first round pick, by the way, that's looking like it may be top 15, if not top 10, because the way Toronto's going, I was listening to NHL radio on the drive up this morning, and Elliot Friedman was asked about them by Gord Selleck if Toronto was going to be selling or not, and Gord was kind of scoffing at the idea of Toronto even selling. He said, "I feel like they have to double down on what they have." I mean, I don't know what you're watching, Gord, but your core right now is kind of a joke. I mean, tons of talent, sure, but William Nylander flipping off the cameras, not even that big of a deal. It's not even that big of a deal in the big picture, like whatever. But would Patrice Bergeron have ever flipped off a camera? Sidney Crosby, Steven Stamkos, Nathan McKinnon, Connor McDavid, like all these leaders, Sasha Barkov, like would they have ever flipped off a camera knowing that they're on national TV? No, that's just not serious. Like that's not, anyway. So that Toronto pick could end up being higher than we all thought it was even last year. So in addition to that, Fraser Minton is just a really good young player. So he ties the game for Boston, and Geekie gives Boston the go-ahead and game-winning goal. Here's Morgan Geekie after the game.
You have wins like this the last couple of games against quality teams, executing in the third period, like playing winning hockey. Like, how much is that a sign of maybe this team growing and starting to go to a different level?
It's huge. I mean, like you said, we played some good teams over the last little while, but we didn't come out very strong today. But to be able to come back in the third and put together a solid performance, and at the end of the day get the 2 points is all that matters. So it's tough to win in this league, and divisional games especially. So it's nice for us to get that one and just keep growing. You're right. I think it's just super big for the team to continue to get those quality wins.
Yeah, and listen, it was a quality win, and quality wins don't have to be perfect games, right? I mean, the Vegas win. Okay, you lose to Dallas, you follow that up with a win over Vegas. Were you holding on to your chair in the third period? Were you up 4-0 and you won 4-3? Yes. It wasn't a perfect finish to that game. Okay, you wish that the Bruins didn't almost allow Vegas back into that game and force overtime and potentially win it. But when you take a step back, you beat Vegas, it's a quality win. You beat Montreal, it's a quality win. You don't have your best stuff in the first period, that's okay. Stay in it and then build your game up. And that's exactly what Boston did. Again, do you want them to play 60 minutes strong? Of course. It's not going to happen every night. And so at the end of the day, you find a way to stick with it and to really steal that game from Montreal. I mean, Montreal had that game because I thought Montreal was the better team for the first 40 minutes. I do. I do think Montreal was better. I thought they deserved better. Well, you know what? I shouldn't say that. I mean, you don't deserve anything. I mean, it is what it is. But through 40 minutes, they were the better team. And then Boston kind of grabbed it from them. And not only grabbed it from them and gained the 2 points, but grabbed it from them in regulation. So that's a 4-point swing. And Geeky talked about it. That's a divisional game. And as I said earlier, right now, the Bruins and the Canadiens are tied in points. So the Bruins are fifth in the Atlantic in points and points percentage, again, based off tiebreakers, but they have the same amount of points as Buffalo and Montreal. Buffalo's third in the division. So that's a huge win for the Bruins. And a storyline that came from that game as well, just before we head into this Rangers game, is Nikita Zadorov. He looked like he was ailing. He didn't look like himself throughout much of the first period and a half, 2 periods. They mentioned on the broadcast that he only played 3 or 4 minutes in the first period. That's not like him. So before he took that hit from Zach Bulduke with a very awkward fall on his leg, that, man, I saw that and I thought Chris Kelly circa 20 2015, like when he broke his tibia or something. I thought that looked really bad. And if Nikita Zadorov were to miss any sort of significant time, that's a major loss to Boston's back end, and that could do some real damage to their playoff hopes. Now, somehow, some way, Zadorov comes back in the game in the third period. Unbelievable. I mean, I don't think anybody thought he was coming back because I said it looked like he was already dealing with something from a first period hit that he got. He was playing limited time in the first. He gets hurt at the end of the second, and it looks nasty. You would think that it could be easy to say, hey, let's just pack it up for the night, mitigate any further damage or risk of injury, and live to fight another day. And Nikita, to his credit, said, no, I'm going back out there because this is a big game. And he played well in the third too. But against the Rangers, he did end up missing that game. So that was his first game missed of the season for the Bruins, and just his second game as a member of the Bruins. So since Nikita signed his contract with Boston in July of 2024, he's only missed 2 games. So that goes to show you how durable of a player he is. But he's a very important player for Boston. And, you know, he obviously came back against Nashville, not to put the cart before the horse, but he missed the Rangers game. He did come back for the Nashville game on the second of a back-to-back. So it does kind of seem like it was more of a load management situation, which I think is smart. I think that's smart. I think that right now, the war of attrition is a battle for Boston. And we're going to talk about Elias Lindholm in a little bit because, to my knowledge right now, we have no update on his latest. He left the Nashville game with an injury, and he was being evaluated today. The Bruins had off. So I don't know if anything's came out at the time of this recording. I will try to remember to double check before I sign off here. But Elias Lindholm is currently dealing with something. You know, McAvoy's had injuries this year. Elias Lindholm has had injuries this year. Arvidsson, Middlestad, Hampus Lindholm, and now Zadorov is you know, he's a little Pasternak missed 5 games this year too. So right now, this condensed schedule has been a challenge. I mean, for the Bruins more so than anybody, I feel like the Bruins have the most games played in the league this year, or they're one of the teams with the most games played in what's a compact schedule for everybody. So even the team that's played the least amount of games so far, it's still a very compact schedule at the Olympics this year. So Boston's played a lot of games, and the war of attrition is real. And this team, I hope that they finish these last 3 games really strong because they need some rest. They need some rest. I know they got a handful of guys going to the Olympics, so they won't really have much time to rest. But as a team, Boston needs this Olympic break. And, you know, you're starting to see it, like the injuries, like they're playing so much hockey. I mean, you fly out from Boston to New York in what's the middle of a 2-foot snowstorm here, and you play that game, and then you have to turn around and take a bus the next morning back to Boston. The Bruins didn't even get in to Boston on Tuesday until 1:30 p.m. And then they had to play Nashville at 7. So it's been a crazy schedule for Boston, and the injuries are, you know, they're there and they're doing a good job navigating. But this Olympic break hopefully will do well for any guys that are banged up right now. So as I said, Nikita played the rest of the Montreal game. He did not dress against the Rangers. Henry Jokiharju made his return to the lineup. I think he and his wife had a child recently, so congrats to them. And Jokiharju's been playing good hockey for Boston. I said it a few episodes ago. I was hard on him a lot this year, but he's been playing good recently, and I'm hoping that he can have a good Olympics for Team Finland too. So the Boston game, listen, the Rangers, they're not having a good time right now at the rink. Most nights they don't want to be there. Chris Drury, their GM, has already sent out a letter to Rangers fans that this is not the style of play that they want. They're not where they want to be. They're going to be selling pieces off. They've already told Artemi Panarin they're not going to re-sign him. He's their top offensive player. So, Rangers fans and the Rangers team, they have not had a good year. And on home ice, no less, the Rangers have been terrible. So you would think if you're the Bruins, you would find a way to get 2 points here. I mean, you just beat Vegas. You just beat Montreal. You can't get 2 points against the Rangers. I just thought Boston's game was too loose at times. They had a lot of looks because the Rangers defensively aren't great. And David Pastrnak was all over the ice in a good way. I mean, most nights, David's, he's very, very good. Just like everybody else, he'll have his off nights where he's fighting the puck a little bit. But then he has nights that other people just don't have and aren't capable of having. Like his 6 assist night against the Rangers a couple weeks ago. He was just on a different level against the Rangers offensively. His vision, his skating, his puck handling, it was all on full display against the Rangers. And he had 3 assists halfway through the game. But you could just tell watching him that he was on a different level against the Rangers. And you were hoping that it would kind of surmount into 2 points for Boston because you thought that maybe he'd find a way to really leave his mark. He did, but, not enough. I mean, he can only do so much, right? He's one player. But the Bruins found a way to lose, but they had so many looks. It was confusing that they were only, up 3-2 in the third because they had so many opportunities. But in the first period, it was Will Cooley who got the Rangers the 1-0 lead. Cooley actually gave McAvoy a good hit in the corner in the first period towards the end that had McAvoy leave the game temporarily, and he was very upset. You could tell he was visibly emotional, and he was slamming his stick. He almost hit Swain with the stick, and he was kind of the security guard behind the bench was kind of like, am I supposed to let you out here? It was a clean hit by Cooley. I don't know if McAvoy has a history of shoulder issues. Obviously, the jaw has been an issue this year for McAvoy, taking a slap shot to the face. I'm not sure what it was necessarily because nothing seems noticeable other than just body contact. But anyway, McAvoy left the first period. He came back in the second. But Will Cooley gave the Rangers a 1-0 lead. Elias Lindholm ties it on his 10th goal of the year. Unbelievable play by Pastrnak. Like I said earlier, he was just controlling the play when he was out there. Geeky got an assist on Lindholm's first goal of the game, too. Elias Lindholm gave the Bruins a lead in the second period, his 11th of the year. Another assist from Pastrnak, assist from McAvoy. And then Morgan Geeky gets his 29th goal of the year on David Pasternak's third assist of the game, 46th assist of the season. And that goal by Geeky marked David Pasternak's 900th career point in the NHL. And he's only 29 years old. So he's going to hit 1,000 points at some point next season. Probably around this time next year, I would say, around the trade deadline. I mean, he's got 69 points this year. He's on pace for about 100, 105, 108, whatever it is. So, he'll probably finish the year close to 940 points, 935, something like that. And then, like I said, second half of next season, he'll hit 1,000. And where he'll end up at the end of his career, I mean, it's tough to really say. I mean, he's 29, so if he averages 100 points for, another 4 or 5 years and then maybe drops off a little bit after that, I mean, I think he should be around 1,500 points when it's all said and done, right? I'm just spitballing off the top of my head, but I feel like 1,500 points, 1,400 for Pastrnak, something like that, right? He's got another 600 points in him, right? 500 points at least. So that was a big milestone for Pastrnak. And listen, he's got more career assists than he does goals, but he's going to go down as one of the best goal scorers in the history of the Boston Bruins, if not the best. And he can also dish it like Adam Oates on most nights too. So good milestone for Pastrnak. He gets his 900th career point. Funny play later on, too. Mika Zibanejad high-sticked Andrew Peeke. Boston was on the penalty kill and cuts Peeke. He's bleeding pretty good from the mouth. And the refs call it initially a 2-minute minor, which I don't know how you call it a 2-minute minor because he's bleeding, and that's usually pretty objectively 4 minutes. But then they go back and they review it, and they actually say that it was a follow through, which I hate that rule. Like if you're taking a slap shot and your follow through hits somebody up high, like to me, like that's not really on the shooter. Like they're focused on scoring, they're not focused on the guy around them. But Zibanejad missed the puck, so that wasn't even a follow through. It was an attempted follow through. He was trying to pass it, but he missed it, and he high sticked peak. That should have been 4 minutes, but things happen fast, and refs make mistakes, as we all know. Quite often they make mistakes, but I thought that was a funny play. Anyway, Boston gives up the lead in the third period. Will Borgen, a nothing shot from the point, goes off of Andrew Peake's backside and in. I wouldn't put any of those regulation goals on Jonas Korpisalo. I mean, the first goal of the game, Urho Vakanainen, former Bruin draft pick. I played a few games for the Bruins too before he was traded to Anaheim in the Hampus Lindholm trade, I believe. He's now made his way to New York, but he gets a shot in from the point that Will Cooley tipped in the first period. So that puck dipped like 5 feet on a Korpisalo. Can't blame him there. The JT Miller goal, that was a one-timer in transition. I mean, I'm going to point at 4 or 5 other guys on the ice before Korpisalo for blame there. And then the Borgen goal, as I said, it got tipped off of not even tipped. It was more just redirected in off of Andrew Peake's backside and ties the game, which again, it was annoying because it wasn't a great goal, but it was a product of the Bruins letting off the gas a little bit. And I just thought that they were too cute for much of the Rangers game. And it cost them. You go to over, you give a team life, and now it's overtime, and now it's anybody's game. And the Bruins had their chances in overtime, but Matthew Robertson was the one who was able to get one by Korpisalo and give the Rangers the extra point on a play. I didn't like this play at all. If I'm the Bruins here, Zacha was just beat to the net. I mean, he was with them. He was with Robertson side by side, but he allowed Robertson to kind of do the power move, backhand, forehand. You got to lean into him there and play the body, and Zacha didn't. And then the goal itself was, I mean, 5-hole. Korpisalo's stick leaves the ice. I just didn't like that goal at all. So I'm not going to fault him for the regulation goals, but the overtime goal, Korpisalo and Zacha, a little bit of egg on their face there. New York gets the extra point, and it's a disappointing one for Boston. I mean, that's a game you're going to get 2 points there. So let's go to Elias Lindholm after the game, talking about the missed opportunity for the Bruins to get at least 2 points in that game.
Despite getting a point, the disappointment in not closing it out tonight, can you speak about that?
Yeah. No, it's tough loss. I think we kind of stopped playing in the third a little bit, let them take over. And then obviously that's not the recipe to win. So we got to clean that up for tomorrow.
So, I mean, there you hear it. I mean, they know they let one get away there. And, credit to them, because you got to, after that game, and as I said earlier, they had to take a bus from New York to Boston on Tuesday morning. So the game was Monday night in New York, and they couldn't go back to Boston until Tuesday morning. And by the time the bus got home, they had got back around 1:30 p.m. Like I said, you get home at 1:30 p.m. and then you get a game at 7:30. I mean, that's just your entire rhythm is off. And oh, by the way, Nashville had been waiting in Boston for a couple of days. So you can argue that maybe Nashville is rusty. They could have the argument of, well, we're rusty because we've been sitting around on our ass for a couple of days, and at least Boston's been playing despite their shitty travel. There's an argument to go both ways for that. But at the end of the day, after a tough loss to the Rangers, a disappointing loss, tough travel getting home to Boston, quick turnaround, this is one of those games you just got to find a way to get 2 points. And to Boston's credit, that's exactly what they did. And it starts off with a 1-0 lead from a goal by Hampus Lindholm. And I talked about Fraser Minson earlier. I'm going to talk about him again. It's off of a cleanly won face-off by Minton. And then it goes to, I want to say maybe, I forget who was at the strong side point there, but they slid it over to Hampus Lindholm at the left point, and Minton goes to the net, creates some havoc, creates a distraction, and a nothing shot from the point gets past UC Saros, 1-0 Boston. And that's how the score would end in the first period. As the second period got underway, Morgan Geekie gets his 5th goal in his last 5 games. So you talk about going goalless in 12 games. And I mentioned he just needed to get one, right? Like, especially a goal scorer, which Morgan Geekie has emerged himself into a legit goal scorer in this league. He's got back-to-back 30-goal seasons now. He had 33 last year, career high. Something tells me he's going to surpass that this year. So, I think 45 is on the table for Geekie this year. Absolutely. Maybe 45 plus. So, he needed to get one into the back of the net, and against Dallas, he did. Now, was it a shot off of his stick? No, you would have liked for that to be the way he scored. It was a tip-in goal, but still, nonetheless, I mean, you could see how much it was bothering him. He was changing his stick tape constantly. He was breaking his stick on one-timer possibilities and hitting a bunch of posts. Everything that could go wrong for Geekie was going wrong. And then lo and behold, you get a goal, and then you start to get confidence. And let me tell you guys, I don't know what it is, but confidence is the great equalizer. And there's no doubt about it that when you have confidence, you can do anything, and things start to go your way. And so for Geekie now, he's got 5 goals in his last 5 games since snapping that goalless drought against Dallas. And as I said, it's his second consecutive 30-goal season. Now, this is a fantastic play from David Pastrnak, who, with Roman Josi all over him, draped all over him, and I think Philip Forsberg, like, he finds a way to pull up and get a nice one-handed pass on the boards to Geekie, who just has an unbelievable finish. For the go-ahead goal for the Bruins, 2-0. That was Pasternak's 47th assist of the season. And as I said, he has 28 points now in his last 14 games. So Pastrnak is really feeling it. And Roman Josi, I just mentioned him. He got his 9th goal of the season on the power play. Bit of an unfortunate break for Boston. Hampus Lindholm's stick breaks on a penalty kill. So Sean Corrali, in an effort to get his defenseman a stick, vacates his positioning, gives his stick to Lindholm, and then Ryan O'Reilly finds Roman Josi for a one-timer that beats Swayman in the final minute of the second period. And, had Corrali not vacated his positioning to give his defenseman a stick, he probably would have been in that shooting lane that Josi had and maybe prevented that goal from happening. But nonetheless, cuts the Bruins lead in half, and it makes them vulnerable for some third period drama. And that's exactly how it played out. Nick Blackenberg with a 4-on-4 goal with a little bit under 10 minutes to go in regulation, and he ties the game. And now everybody's holding on to their chairs a little bit more. Oh no, we had a third period get away from us against Vegas nearly recently, and oh no, we saw the Bruins give up a third period lead 24 hours ago against the Rangers and losing overtime. Oh no, here we go again. But not meant to be. This time around, the Bruins found a way to get the extra point. David Pasternak's 22nd goal of the year and 69th point of the season on an assist by Charlie McAvoy, his 31st, and Marat Husnudinov. I also want to give a quick shout out here to Mark Kastelic, because Kastelic has been tasked with the responsibility of taking opening faceoffs in overtime. The reason for that is to gain possession, because possession is everything in the extra session. And so oftentimes you'll see Kastelic go out there for the draw, win it, and then get off. And that's exactly what happened here. He got off. He won the draw. Boston gains possession. Husnudinov hops on the ice for Kastelic. And, 3 passes later, a little give and go. And, McAvoy finds Pasternak crashing the net, and the Bruins find a way to win. Now, as I said earlier, one of the bigger storylines from this game was Elias Lindholm did get hurt. Now, it wasn't much of anything. It was off of a face-off. He was just battling for a face-off. You could watch that replay 100 times and you won't see where the injury happened, which leads you to believe, is it one of those abdominal injuries? Is it a shoulder injury? Is it a wrist? I don't know. It's really tough to know. But he left the game at the end of the second period, did not return. And Marco Sturm had no update after the game. He just said that he's going to be evaluated tomorrow, which is today. And as I said, I have not seen any update on him, and I'm sure it'll come out at some point on Thursday. But Elias Lindholm is a guy that, a lot of scrutiny around him since he signed in Boston because of the way that he came in here. People thinking that it's Sweeney trying to, shortcut his way to a number one center instead of doing so through the draft. Listen, if people think it's an overpay for Lindholm, I'm not going to sit there and say, that they're wrong. I think that that's the nature of free agency, is overpaying. I think the real argument is, should the Bruins have done it, right? Overpays that's what free agency is, especially the top guy in the market in that year, which he was, because it was kind of a slow free agent market. But Elias Lindholm right now has 11 goals, 26 assists, and 37 points in 44 games played this year. Now, he's missed 11 games. So that's a pace of 60 points in 71 games. That's an 82-game pace of 69 points. That's over 20 points more than what he had in his first year in Boston. So, he's been good for the Bruins. Now, I will say, at 5-on-5, he only has 16 points. Okay, so 16 of his 37 points are at 5-on-5, which means more than half of his points are either on the power play or 4-on-4 or 3-on-3 overtime or something like that. So, let's see I'm just curious what he is. Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. Elias Lindholm is third on the Bruins in overall scoring. He's 11th on the Bruins in 5-on-5 scoring. You see what I'm saying? You need that to be a little bit more balanced. I mean, David Pasternak and Morgan Geekie, they are 1 and 2 on Boston in overall scoring. They're also 1 and 2 in Boston in 5-on-5 scoring. Lindholm and Pavel Zacha, they're 3rd and 4th on the Bruins in overall scoring, but they're 10th and 11th on the Bruins in 5-on-5 scoring. So you need a little bit more 5-on-5 production from your number 1 and your number 2 centers. And that's with Pavel Zacha has had a pretty good month at 5-on-5, by the way. He only had 8 5-on-5 points all year until 2 or 3 weeks ago. Now, that second line has cooled off of a bit. I mean, Zacha, Arvidsson, and Casey Middlestad, offensively, they had gone 7 games in a row with a goal as a line. I think they've gone maybe 4 games now without a goal as a line. So, that happens, right? I mean, if you're going to go on a big stretch like that, you're probably going to, go through a little bit of a drought too. But anyway, back to Elias Lindholm. He's somebody that he's putting up points for Boston. Is he doing a ton of damage at 5-on-5? No. But hey, special teams is part of the game too. I mean, you would like some more 5-on-5 production from him, but at least he's performing on the power play. And we all know that the NHL these days it's a special teams league. So, if he's out for any amount of time, that would suck for him personally, because he's only 3 games away from playing for Sweden in the Olympics. It would be his first Olympic appearance of his career, because the NHL hasn't sent NHL players to the Olympics since 2014. It's been 12 years, right? So, hopefully for the Bruins and for Lindholm, he is not out too long or at all. I guess we'll find out sooner than later. Let's hear from Marco Sturm after the Bruins-Predators game.
Had a great month of January results-wise, and a lot of the other teams in the division have as well. Can you just comment on the state of what you see right now in the Atlantic?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I never been through it. I don't know you guys, but it's we feel pretty good about our month, our record, but we're not moving at all. So it's kind of crazy. But anyway, I'm not looking at that. I think my guys, not sure about them, but we take it day by day and then see what happens. We got to do our job, not someone else's job. And again, usually what I experienced in the past, even as a player, January is always a tough month. After Christmas, it's usually a grind, and it was a grind. And to come out of that grind with that record, that's pretty impressive.
It is impressive, and it really is crazy when you think about how far the Bruins have come in the last month. I mean, you think back to the end of December, right? We hadn't even reached the new calendar year, and the Bruins had already suffered their second 6-game losing streak of the season. They had suffered 2 separate 6-game losing streaks in the first 3 months of the year. I mean, I thought their season was pretty much done because it's easy to look back now and say, well, they've now won 11 of their last 14. There was no way to predict that back in late December, heading into Edmonton on New Year's Eve, having already lost 6 in a row, that they were about to rattle off 11 of 14. Because guess what? The eye test and the analytics were telling us that wasn't going to happen. The Bruins weren't playing good hockey. Visually, watching them, you could tell. They were taking way too many penalties. They've cut back on their penalties a good amount the last 15 games or so. But they were far and away the most penalized team in the NHL. Their penalty kill had come back down to earth. Their penalty kill still is, I want to say, 22nd in the NHL. Yeah, they have the 22nd PK in the NHL, 77.8%. So they were taking too many penalties. It was getting them off their 5-on-5 rhythm. Their PK wasn't doing well. And 5-on-5 offensive generation, they were giving up too many chances at 5-on-5. They weren't generating enough. Like there was nothing redeeming about the Bruins' advanced analytics or the eye test back in late December. And you're watching a team that, as I said, had just suffered their second 6-game losing streak of the year. Well, here we are now, and they have gone 11-2-1 since their 6-game losing streak ended against the Oilers back on New Year's Eve. And they have gained some separation now from the non-playoff teams in the Eastern Conference. Like, as I said, they're not moving up a ton right now, although, as I said, they are tied in points with Buffalo and Montreal, but they are still in wild card too. But the teams behind them now are further behind. Like I said, Florida is the closest team to them, and they're 6 points behind Boston. Toronto, they're floundering. New Jersey, they're floundering. Who else? Ottawa's floundering. Philly, they're not doing too hot right now. You see them tomorrow night. So there's an opportunity. Speaking of the road ahead, there's an opportunity tomorrow night to really put some separation between you and somebody who's coveting your final Eastern Conference wildcard spot. So the road ahead, as I just said, the Bruins have the Flyers tomorrow night, Thursday night, if you're listening on Thursday, and then Tampa Bay in the Stadium Series on Sunday, which we'll spend more time next episode talking about that game, previewing that game. And I have a fun idea as far as talking points for that episode regarding the Bruins' recent and past outdoor games and ranking those as well. But we'll get to that later on. I said off the top that with 3 games remaining before the Olympic break, those games being Philadelphia, Tampa Bay, and Florida, the Bruins have an opportunity to do something that they have yet to do at any point this year. What exactly is that? I teased you earlier. I'll tell you now. The Bruins have a chance now to go on consecutive extended winning streaks for the first time all year. And right now, they're well on their way to doing so, because since they lost to Dallas, who ended their 6-game winning streak, they're currently 3-0-1 since then. So the Bruins are doing it right now. There's still 3 games to go here. If you lose your next 3 games, it's going to look back at a 500 stretch, right, since you lost to Dallas. But if you can win 2 of these next 3 games, your stretch post-Dallas will be an extended winning streak. This is the Bruins season so far, broken down into fragments prior to the month of January, essentially. So they start the year 3-0. Their next 6 games, they go 0-6. So their record on the year is 3-6. Then they go into damage control, because at 3-6, the Bruins season was very much in the balance early on, figuratively. But if you're 3-6 and you lose your next 4 games and now you're 3-10, so it's easy now to look back because we know what they did and say, hey, it wasn't that bad. No, it was. If they lost those next games, it would be that bad. So they're 3-6. Then they go 8-1 over the next 9. Then they go 500. They go 5-5 over the next 10. Then they go 4-0. Okay, so now you're looking pretty good. Now you're looking decent. This is kind of around when this is, I think, end of November, around American Thanksgiving, or early December. Then they go 1-5-2. So they win 1 of their next 8 games. Okay. That gets us to the game against the Oilers. And as I said, since then, they're 11-2-1, including a 6-game winning streak that Dallas snapped. And now, since then, Boston's gone 3-0-1. So if this was earlier in the year, the Bruins would have gone on a 6-game win streak, lost, ended their win streak, and then they would have done 500 hockey, or they would have gone into a losing streak. The Bruins aren't doing that right now. Right now, they are putting together a consecutive winning streak in short order. And what that does is it allows the Bruins to no longer stop doing damage control and start gaining separation. So much of the Bruins winning streaks this year has been to get back to the pack. Now, with this current stretch of winning hockey, they have a chance to separate from the pack. And that is so, so important for a Bruins team that's trying to make the playoffs. And they deserve a ton of credit for doing so. So that will wrap it up for this episode. Thank you all very much for listening. Again, next episode will be Friday. This week was a unique episode release schedule, because of all of the snow over the weekend. In addition to, the Bruins had a very condensed game schedule earlier this week, so I didn't feel like it made a lot of sense to battle the snow and then come to an episode without being able to talk about New York and Nashville. So next week we'll get back to Monday and Friday, but this week we still have Friday. So as I said, I want to do a ranking next episode of the Bruins outdoor games. I know it's going to be last. It's going to be Gillette in 2016 because they got smoked by Montreal in Boston. But so you have Fenway 1, Fenway 2. Fenway 1 was 2010 against the Flyers, where Marco Sturm got the overtime winner. You have, I guess we'll go in order. So you have 2010 at Fenway. You have 2016 at Gillette, where they lost to the Canadiens. So they're 1-1 in outdoor games. And then they beat the Blackhawks at Notre Dame back in 2019. So that's 3. That's 2-1. And then they smoked the Flyers at Lake Tahoe, which was a beautiful setting. No fans. But I'm curious where that ranks for you, the listeners, because that was an outstanding product in terms of the Bruins. Pasternak had a hat trick. The atmosphere was beautiful on Lake Tahoe. Again, no fans, but it was a very memorable game. So they beat the Flyers. So that was their 4th game, right? So now they're 3-1. And then they beat the Penguins on New Year's Day in 2023, which we'll call Fenway 2. Jake DeBrusk had a great third period. Taylor Hall, David Krejci came from behind in that game. So that's, what's that, 5? So they're 4-1. And now we have the game coming up in Tampa Bay, which will be their 6th outdoor game since 2010. So there's 5 to choose from. Okay, so at the expense of me rambling on too far here, if you're listening, send me an email, info@thepuckups.com. Tweet at me on X @BrianDFelice_. Tweet at the show @thePuckUps. And I'll be sure to put this poll out there actually. If not tonight, tomorrow, and you can send me your thoughts and your rankings, and I'll be sure to read those off. Of course, you can always send a voicemail to at 617-539-6958. That's 617-539-6958. So that'll be a fun episode. We'll talk about the Bruins Lightning game. We'll recap the Bruins Flyers, and we'll discuss our favorite Bruins outdoor games and rank them. Thank you all very much for listening. Have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you on Friday.